Hello, comrades. This is Joseph Ryan Banks. Hope you're all doing well. I have some things that we need to talk about. Westerners don't really seem to understand the gravity of the situation that we are in globally. They do not see their leaders for the monsters that they are. The Biden administration and Kamala Harris, they send money to Israel for it to commit crimes against humanity. They support Israel's right to defend itself. They turn right around and say that they are doing everything that they can, working around the clock. They say that they're trying to get a ceasefire deal done. It's complete bullshit, completely on the face of it. What about the Palestinians' right to defend themselves? What about the hundreds of thousands of deaths that are a direct result of American imperialism? The direct result of Biden and every president before him sending arms to Israel? What makes an arms embargo so impossible? Because their geopolitical interests lie in arming Israel. Israel is a colony. They have to keep a stable colony so that they can keep the region under their sphere of influence. They are competing with other imperialist powers and villainize any country that does not bow down to American imperialism and hegemony. Liberals would rather secure their own benefits first than fight against imperialism or organize. I recently had an argument with some supposed leftists who were just liberals with dubious moral calculus. They basically argued that any sort of sentiment to condition your vote or to not vote at all in this election is basically just letting the Republicans win, that they think that there's even a difference between the Democrats and Republicans. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but there really isn't. The hundreds of thousands of victims of U.S. imperialism would not notice a difference between Democrats and Republicans. The children that are being bombed in Palestine do not see a difference because Biden is the one that is bombing them. Kamala Harris is the one that is bombing them. And they think that all of this gives them some reason to have, they think that it's okay to side with the Democrats or siding with them in some sort of nebulous class collaboration. And class collaboration is what fascism promotes, that it denies class altogether. You know, Hitler chose to muddy the terms as a tactic to control the working class. Right here, I have a quote. He said, "Socialism is the science of dealing with the common weal. Communism is not socialism. Marxism is not socialism. The Marxians have stolen the term and confused its meaning. I shall take socialism away from the socialists." Like, that's insane. That's what Hitler said. The Democrats and Republicans seek to confuse the working class and favor class collaboration, that we should support big businesses, that private industry is good for the economy and therefore good for the worker. It is fascist rhetoric. What Western leftists need to do is actually organize, not let this revolutionary situation pass them by. Because fascism is more so the direct result of a failed proletariat revolution. When fascists have smashed the right to protest, the right to assemble, anything like that, they have already won the battle. You know, I've been accused of feeling this way because I am a white cis passing male, that it is because of my privilege that I stand the least likely to feel the consequences of fascists taking power. And I find this argument very cheap and disingenuous. Yes, white privilege does exist. Yes, I do fit that identity. But coming from my identity is cheap, and I'm also disabled. My heart doesn't fucking work. I struggle to maintain my health every single day. I am not a capitalist. I am part of the working class. I have no private property. And I can see that the way that my home country's people and government treats the rest of the world, how it plainly does not see the rest of the world as human, the same with the liberals. They do not see the rest of the world as human, and it's frankly racist and narrow-minded. Every person in the Western world stands to benefit from the continued exploitation of the global South. It is because of this that there is such a gigantic lack of proletariat class consciousness in the West. They believe that genocide is something that can be sidelined, that it's secondary to their own rights as citizens of the United States. They're lacking in perspective in actual material reality. They had the audacity to claim my perspective as lacking because I'm not advocating for people to vote for the Democratic Party, for the genociders. This is, again, a direct result of the labor aristocracy in the United States. And I had someone comment on my last video telling me that the labor aristocracy isn't real and that it doesn't exist. And I beg to differ. I absolutely beg to differ. There is, it's something that Lenin talked about. It's something that Engels and Lenin talked about. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And this is, again, a direct result of the labor aristocracy in the United States just simply not giving a shit about workers and human beings on the receiving end of American-made weapons and bombs. The myopic focus on securing benefits for oneself before fighting to stop the ones that are already in power from continuing their genocidal campaigns is frankly insane, and it is extremely similar to Nazi Germany. It is class collaboration coming from liberal center-right people who think that just because we have pink capitalism or social fascism, that it is a better alternative than not voting or at the very least conditioning your vote, exercising some modicum of power over your elected officials as a voter, which we really don't have at all. You know, it doesn't matter to them. They do not care about brown people being murdered and slaughtered for finance capital to continue on with whatever it's doing, continue with business as usual. Israel is the most documented genocide in human history, and you're telling me that we need to take care of our own first? Are you insane? Are you that selfish and myopically focused on yourself that you couldn't care less about the children who are being crushed under rubble in Gaza? That the children that are being pulled from the rubble of a school building that was destroyed with the United States funded bombs? How crazy is that? How insane and ghoulish do you have to be to think like that? I was accused of being trying to be a influencer like Hassan Piker or something like that. Bro, Hassan is a fucking piece of shit. Hassan is a liberal just like the rest of them. He has some sort of like leftist rhetoric that he uses, but he still covers Kamala as if she's the best thing since sliced bread. He talks about how Biden's handling of Gaza isn't that great. You know, it's just silly. Don't even compare me to that. And it's because American liberals have absolutely no concept of what it's like to be outside the United States. They only care about the United States. The entire world is the United States to them. You know, that the rest of the world is the backyard of American capitalism. This backyard of American capitalism comes second. You know, everyone that's living out there is living in the fucking dog shed. You know, and I refuse to believe that we've lost the opportunity as a working class in the American left. I think that our powers have been stripped from us. I think that we have lost a lot of the way as a direct result of the state, as a direct result of McCarthyism and Red Scare nonsense ever since the 90s, ever since the 50s, and, you know, basically ever since the Soviet Union became a direct enemy towards the United States. Or rather, that the United States became a direct enemy of the Soviet Union, that communism became a bad word. And the fact that communism has become such a bad word, even today, in modern American discourse, is really telling of how deeply people have been brainwashed. That people have been so far brainwashed that they can't even comprehend an ideal world, let alone a material alternative to what's been happening, because they've been so fundamentally brainwashed, and all the education that could have been done around the Soviet Union and education about what their system was and how their economics worked, all of that has been so heavily distorted. You know, people cite the Black Book of Communism, where that's been debunked back and forth, you know, backwards and forwards. It makes me sick. You know, I was told that I haven't contributed anything to the world, that I have done nothing good from what I've been saying, that I am just doing this selfishly to get clicks, to be seen as an influencer, to be seen as somebody who's popular and fun and interesting and cool and, you know, is a millionaire YouTuber. Like, that's not my goal. It would be nice to have my videos get more than 100 views or get more than 50 views, but that's out of the ordinary for me, you know? Like, what kind of psychological projection does it require for someone to see someone else calling out American imperialism for what it is, calling out the American electoral system for what it is, and saying, oh, you just don't want people to have nice things? Like, I'm literally saying that I want people to have nice things. I want people to have free education, free healthcare, the ability to, you know, carve out their own destiny, and for people to live under an economic system where they aren't treated as utter trash. That they have to earn a living. That a living is something that you don't get automatically. That you have to prove that you're worthy of being alive. That's insane to me. That is absolutely insane to me. Go watch Second Thought. Go watch The Deprogram. Go watch Ugopnik. Go watch Hakeem. Go watch Bad Empanada. Those guys have helped me understand and wrap my head around more of what's been going on than any fucker like Jordan Peterson or Joe Rogan, you know? Absolute Andrew Tate, pieces of shit. Horrible excuses for people. Horrible excuses for human beings that are guilty of peddling the most atrocious, racist fucking rhetoric I've ever heard in my life. And there are so many men out there who feel that it is totally cool and fun and awesome to like these guys. You know? Like these they base their entire personality off of these internet figures. It shows how weak and uneducated they are. And you don't have to go to college. Okay? You can learn things on the internet for relatively free. There's so much out there that's free to learn and to read. I'm thankful that my older brother is a Marxist as well, and that I've been able to borrow some of his books. And thank you. Thank you for that. Because without that, I would not be closer to where I am now. I would not be as radicalized as I am now. I would not be so sure of myself. I would not be so sure that there is an alternative to capitalism if I had not read all of the things that I've read. And I'm continuing to read. I haven't even finished the Marx Engels reader that I got, or the Essential Lenin that I've got. Those are things that everyone should try to crack open at least once or twice. You know, people say, "Oh, you want to know what kind of horrible dictator, kind of nonsense, evil rhetoric comes from? Read the Communist Manifesto." Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Marx was all about the emancipation of people from the chains of capitalism, the chains of their wage slavery. Don't you have a job that you hate? Don't you have a boss that you hate? Do you work in a place where you own all of the tools that you use, that you own the entire property? No, you don't. Do you feel how alienating it is to be a cashier at Walmart or at Publix or at Kroger, where you just go boop, boop, boop? 3 items. $29. $29.99, ma'am. Cash your card. It's extremely alienating. I've had the privilege of being able to work in education, to work with children, to work with students who haven't been completely crushed by the system yet, though they're definitely on their way, because the American school system is priming them to be workers, to be crushed by a capitalist workplace. It sickens me to know that there's, especially in Florida, there's an entire movement around claiming critical race theory as this like evil boogeyman sort of thing, that it's like indoctrinating your children into being anti-white. And it's like, critical race theory is just history. It's just the actual history of the United States when you go back and actually look at what's happened. When you look at the way the indigenous people have been slaughtered since Columbus discovered America. He didn't discover shit. He didn't even think that he was in another whole continent. He thought he went to India. That's why he called them Indians. That's why he called the indigenous Americans Indians, is because he thought he was in India. What a fool. And then he enslaved them. He slaughtered them. He saw them give things for free between each other and to the colonists out of the kindness of their hearts. And then said, man, these guys are really stupid for doing that. Let's enslave them and kill them all. That's the foundation of this country. That is the ideological foundation that this country was built off of. Christopher Columbus? Thomas Jefferson? You think he was a good guy? He wasn't. Thomas Jefferson had slaves, just like every other founding father. He had sex with his slaves. He had children with them. How much more of a ghoulish, evil white man thing can you think of doing? Enslaving a people and then impregnating their women so as to whiten up their blood a little bit, you know? Thomas Jefferson even talked about the future of the American frontier, and he said that we were going to have that the American borders are going to stretch all the way from northest North Point, of North America all the way to the Cape of South America, the bottom of South America. He saw the United States as being a transcontinental empire. How much clearer does American imperialism have to be about itself? That's where we started. It started as a white man's colony, and it's still a white man's colony. Almost 300 years later. And Kamala Harris is doing nothing but perpetuating that. By arming Israel, by sending weapons to Israel, by tricking the American people with her duplicitous rhetoric into thinking that she has your best interest at heart. She's a cop. It might as well have been her with her knee on George Floyd's neck that killed him. Israel's the most documented genocide in world history. In human history. Israel has killed hundreds of journalists. They've killed children. 50% of all Gazans are children. They're all dead. 100% of the population is displaced. They just recently made a move into the West Bank. There are people that were living in tents in the West Bank that were bombed and killed. There was a woman who's survived since the very first Nakba, who was killed, died in a tent. That's what American imperialism is. It's a sweet land of murder and death. If you have any support for the Democratic Party, if you think they're going to do any better than the Republicans, then you're sadly mistaken. And if you think that I think that just because I'm a white man, then you have not thought about this hard enough. You are not paying attention. You are not reading the writing on the wall. I have absolutely no patience for liberals anymore. I have no patience for it. If you're a liberal and you tell me, oh no, you're being racist, you're being transphobic for wanting American imperialism to end. Like, what? I'm sorry, I'm not a Zionist. I'm not a Christian. I can barely call myself an American. You know, as consumers, we also have no choice. You ever hear the saying, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism? Let me give you a list of companies that have invested in Israel. This is no exhaustive list. Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Amazon, Walt Disney, Puma, A&A, Louis Vuitton, Teva, Burger King, HP, Dell, Fanta, Axe, Dior, Febreze, Oral-B, Airbnb, Ariel, Nestle, Lipton, Booking, Lenore, Intel, Clearblue, 7-Up, Garnier, Celine, Chanel, Volvo, Kayak, Sprite, Pizza Hut, Bank of America, KFC, Starbucks, BP, British Petroleum. These companies have invested in Israel. They have headquarters in Israel. The money goes where war goes. Or vice versa, if you want to look at it the other way, war goes where capitalism goes. War follows where the money is. Every war is profitable for the people waging it. World War I was an imperialist war. World War II was an imperialist war. The genocide of Gazans is an imperialist war. The invasion of Iraq was imperialist. You go to the store and you buy a drink from a cooler, chances are you're buying from a company that has invested in Israel, has invested in genocide. Google, Microsoft. Google. They have AI. They have cloud services that are helping the IDF. You can't use the internet without somehow funneling money into Israel. And it's not because of some anti-Semitic crazy Jewish conspiracy theory. Okay? Don't even try to go there with me. It's because American finance capital is invested in the Middle East. That is where the money is. That is where the economy is. That is how the economy is going to keep growing for the ultra wealthy, is to continue waging war and destabilizing the region because oil is profitable. That is where capitalism makes its profits, in the oil in the Middle East. And every other company that I listed has just been, unless they were literally BP or Amazon or something like that, they all are conglomerated together to imperialize the region, to imperialize Africa and Southeast Asia. This is why we need a mass line. This is why we need to wage a people's war. Mao was right. I don't care how many people you think he killed. I don't care how many people you think Stalin murdered, okay? Anybody that was on the other end of Stalin's gun, they probably deserved it. Because they were probably a landowner, or they were probably a counter-revolutionary to the workers' revolution. Capitalists don't deserve anything. They do not deserve any respect. They do not deserve any recompense. Capitalism is the reason that the environment is being destroyed. Capitalism is the reason why the biosphere is crumbling. Capitalism and capitalists and the bourgeoisie are the reason why the environment is collapsing. Kamala is fracking friendly. Biden is for fracking. Do you know what fracking does to the earth? It tears it apart. It rips it up. They rip up native land. They rip up land that is designated for Native Americans. And then companies come in and say, "Oh, sorry, we're gonna requisition this plot of this land here. It's ours now. We're gonna build a pipeline right through it." Tim Walz is like the friendliest guy they could find because he got free lunches for kids in school. Oh boy. That shouldn't be such a huge accomplishment. That should not be the biggest thing that he's done. That's the state of American politics. That a governor making it a rule that children get free lunch is somehow revolutionary. That's just sad. Americans are not okay. America is being rotted from within. And it is now more than ever that we need a revolutionary mass line. It is now more than ever that we need to wage a people's war. It is now more than ever that people need to be educated in Marxism. Understand the conditions that have brought us to this point. But the American ruling class, the government, the CIA, they do everything they can to make sure that that can't happen. Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia. Those are CIA offshoots. Any source that you get about the DPRK is filtered through the CIA. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just true. You can look that up on Wikipedia. Even Wikipedia has been clear about that. Support me on Coffee. Leave a donation if you want. I'll leave a link to my PayPal. Thanks for watching.